vyo bayevi Amitapendwa ya vintu ifisume vyonza kula kuibukisha Kana depotimo Wimbo watemenwa katongi Abazunga batita katongi Nakula kuibukisha kateka Kaibukubuna kapona Neseko siove pamenso Yangwama umebaya Iyaba Iyaba ume Iyaba ume
Kateka wabantu Twakulira lelo twakulira Shika kukonke milimo shove Ale filamba Fiena minta pengo sile Eti kume moku londolo la vale Lilo wingi
Iseko wingi mwakwete Iseko wingi mwakwete Mwaya Mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
Katushi muchi mokege Wali bomba kale Lomba mwatuja tuleli laki Mupanga chiba
Penda Mupanga mwine Oya mwine Ide lalila Lalila Lalila
Yangu ya mama ume Ala nacho mwabye Mama
Wonderful day, good day to you all who are joining us by through social media, YouTube, TikTok, and on X, on my pages. You can check them. Please share this broadcast. We are hosting Honorable Grayford Monde, former livestock minister under the government of President Michael Chilufya-Sata, as deputy and as minister under under His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. We are hosting him today. We want to find out how he's doing, what his role is. Will he participate? Remember, he used to be a member of parliament for Iteji, and we want to understand if he will pursue his politics in Iteji or at national level, or he will participate in whatever opportunity will arise. We use the opportunity to discuss the state of our country and the proposed solution. For me, I think that's where the biggest burden is on the solution. So tell us where you are calling us from. Is the volume okay? Is the picture okay? Is the quality okay? Is YouTube on? Is X on? If it's not on, alert us so that we can quickly check this broadcast. I was fascinated by Honorable Grayford Monde's tribute to the late president. Let me see. He issued a tribute to the late president just before just after the late president passed on. Let's listen to that.
As the sunlight breaks through the grief that blankets our nation, I bow my head in solemn reflection, not only as a former cabinet minister, but as one who walked, served, and leant under the steady and humble leadership of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. His passing is not just the loss of a former head of state. It is the silence of a heart that beat for the people. A heart that, though often misunderstood, remained anchored in service, compassion, and peace. President Lungu not only led with a loud declaration, but with quiet resolve. At a time when politics around the world grew bitter and divisive, he stood firm, not in arrogance, but in grace. He taught us that leadership is not about the spotlight, but about bearing the weight of a nation with dignity and restraint. He bore that weight for you, for me, for Zambia. I was privileged to serve under his administration. I watched firsthand his deep concern for the ordinary Zambian, the farmer in the field, the youth seeking opportunity, the mother building a home, marketeers, and all that needed his hand. He never merely chased leadership, but leadership chose him, as can be testified at his first election in 2015. An anointed son of the soil to bear burdens of the people. He did not fight for himself, he fought for Zambia. And now on this day, we do not mourn as a people without hope. We remember that a life poured out in service is never lost. It is planted. And from it grows courage, unity, and a renewed call for us all to live lives that matter. To the family, I offer my prayers. To the nation, I pray for unity, love, and peace to honor his legacy. Let us honor him, not just with words, but with action. Let us be leaders in our homes, in our communities, in our hearts. Let us choose peace. Let us choose unity. Let us carry Zambia and our dreams together. Rest well, Your Excellency. Your journey on earth is complete, but your legacy marches on. God bless Zambia as we mourn. Thank you.
More thing before I die. Can I do one more thing before I die? Can I say one last prayer?
Indeed, his legacy lives on. Thanks for that tribute, Honorable Grayford Monde. I'm privileged to host him. Let me just bring him on board that we can begin to discuss. My dear brother, welcome to today's program. I had invited you earlier to the Conversation podcast and you never came. Mwamba, you have a lot of cases here. You have to pay a lot of goats and cows before I even begin to open my own mouth. I think your microphone, check your microphone, it appears it's kind of off. Yeah.
I hope this is clear now.
Let them put it a bit up. Let them just put it a bit up. Just a bit up. Yeah. It was a bit lower. Okay. Let me just play something while you are sorting that out.
How is that?
Oh, you're okay? I think you're okay. I said, Mwamba, you have issues here. I invited you to the Conversation podcast and you didn't come. And it took a long time for you to come in. But I'm glad you're here. But I hope you've tied some goats and cows outside to say sorry.
The time that invitation came, I was in the village trying to look after those goats and some cows. And so we will pay the entire cow for this offense. So, I mean, it has now come. I'm very excited about this opportunity again.
No, we're glad to host you too. Let's start the program. Many people would see you on TV as a deputy minister and later as a cabinet minister. You were a very strong, I think, participant and contributor in the National Assembly when you were MP. You had started your life as MP for UPND. Just tell us about your life. Who is Grayford Monde?
Yeah, so Grayford Monde is the son of Mr. John Smangolwa Monde, a former miner who worked at now Concola Mine, then ZCCM, born in Lusaka, but of course under registration that Nampundwe is under Mwamba, so my registrations show that I was born in Mwamba. And my mother is, both are late, by the way. My mother is Margaret Lusebo Makoi Monde, and with about 5 sisters and 5 brothers. We're about 11 in our family. 3 of those are not with us, but we still are quite a big number, and we thank the Lord for still keeping us together. I started my grade 1 at Nampundwe Primary School, and just the following year my father retired and he relocated to Itezi, where I continued with my grade 2 going up to grade 9, and later went to Mwamba Secondary School up to high school. Grade 12 I completed in Mwamba, came to Lusaka, where I started to work under Ministry of Health as a cashier, as a registry clerk, as a daily classified employee. I was at the Chawama now hospital, then it was a clinic, then went to Kanyama, continued as a cashier, and later I did a Bachelor's of Arts in Economics from the University of Africa. I am married to Nancy Bensaya, and have 3 children, Moana, Bensaya, Monde, and I have 2 girls, Graciel Lusebo Monde and Carissa Namangolwa Monde. I'm an Adventist myself, a member of the SDA Church, baptized, and have served in various positions. I served as a deacon at a very tender age, below 19 years. By 20 years thereabout, I was ordained as an elder in the church, in the SDA Church. So I served as a member of parliament for Itezi from 2011 to 2016 under the UPND party, the party that I joined in 1999, to be specific, in March. You recall that this party was actually created or formed in November 1998. So I can gladly at the time say that I was one of the founders, because I think a political party within about 5-6 months, you are really recruiting new members. I was one of those early members that joined the party. And I'd wanted to run as a member of parliament because at a time growing up in Itezi, I saw how Itezi was getting dilapidated, infrastructure was just falling off, and so I wanted to give it a try and see how I can be able to impact the people in Itezi. And so my first attempt was in 2001, and I recall very well, I was very, very young. In 2001, I was about 24 years, somewhere thereabout. And I was not yet married, and you know how politics sometimes would be deemed, no, he's not even married, he's still a young man. I never let go. I continued to pursue this dream. In 2006, in fact, I must mention in 2001, I was running with giants of the party at a time. There was our then elections chairman, late Mr. Nabuliato, former son of the former Speaker of National Assembly, who was the elections chairman of UPND, and there was one Honorable Godfrey Mwizebene, who was the National Youth Chairman of the party, and I was the only one without a structure, and I was contesting against these men. The process didn't favor me. I was not adopted. One of us was, Mr. Nabuliato was adopted. He ran that election and unfortunately didn't succeed. The MMD retained the seat in Itestezi, and it was the first time, it was the only seat in Itestezi that actually was retained by the MMD in Southern Province then. And all the districts, UPND under the late President Mazoka, won all the seats, the 18 of them. The 19th was Itestezi, and it was taken by the ruling MMD. And in 2006, I didn't leave the dream. I pursued it. I went ahead to give it another try, where truthfully speaking and truly so, I know that I was dribbled, okay, because all the processes from the grassroots going all the way, in fact, up to the national interview, I beat everyone with very big margins. Primary elections, out of 100 people that came, I poured about 79 votes, and we were 6 of us that were contesting. The remaining 21 was shared, literally 2, 3, 4 votes, and so on. But I never took the adoption, and it was part of the process. I never let go. In 2011, I went for it. Again, out of 10 wards that came, again, I got 7 wards. 2 wards went to Madam Namakau Kaingu, a very strong iron lady, lives in Itestezi, and one went to the then sitting, one ward went to the then sitting MP, Honorable Godfrey Bene. And I got the results for the constituency, I got the results for the province, I got results for the district, and all the way through, and I was then adopted. I came to Parliament after 2 years or so, around 2013, to be specific, in February on the 14th, it was a Valentine a present for me that I got the appointment to serve as deputy minister, and I ran. I worked with. I was appointed by late President Michael Sata as deputy minister, and later when he died, I was reappointed by late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, and later my position was elevated to that of cabinet minister, a position I greatly appreciate and thank late President. Of course, late presidents for the appointments. And here I am today, a member of the party, and now the country is aware that in 2022 there was a call for a vacancy in the party, the PF party, and the call was to get a president, and I'm one of those that participated in this process. And I haven't withdrawn my intention for running as a president, and I'm awaiting, like any other person that has participated or paid in this process, awaiting for advice and direction regards how we proceed with this process. And I think I have tried to cover ground in terms of who Greyford Monde is. I should not have taken this long, because I think there are more important matters to talk about outside an individual like myself. So I'm so grateful. Again, I hope that I've covered ground.
You had great opportunity in government as deputy minister and as a minister of a key portfolio, at agriculture. Just tell us your experiences and what did you learn? What did you learn of the profile of our country? Why can't agriculture really take off? Why does it have to remain a mere potential?
Very well. So what I learned at agriculture is that, first of all, the country is endowed with a lot of arable land for agriculture. Zambia has about 3 agricultural zones that were drawn. I know they could still reduce if we really were going to look at specific areas of crops that needs to be improved. And that at the Ministry of Agriculture, I got to learn a lot of things. We traversed this country to see the potentials of this country. This country sits a lot of water bodies in the region, and that water just goes all the way down into the ocean without it having to be utilized. So to in fact talk about droughts and lack of water for whatever purpose, especially the agriculture in terms of irrigation, is a miss for the entire country. And 61 years after independence, would really should have been making serious measures or steps to ensure that the agricultural sector is doing very well. I think before I go deep into this sector, I may also want to quickly thank the staff that I found at the ministry, the experts at the Ministry of Agriculture, combined now the two ministries, fisheries and livestock and agriculture itself, that received me at that ministry. When I got the appointment from President Michael Sata, I actually asked a question. Why have you chosen? I was hoping I was going to be put into ministries like youth and sports and so on. But the man was very clear. He says, look, you come from a constituency where fish is part of the daily activities and major economic activities for the people of Itestezi. You come from the ministry where cattle, livestock is actually major activities of the people in the area. You also come from a place where crop agriculture or crop farming is also one of the major activities. So the combination of the three activities not only put you, but you also have the experience in agriculture itself. Therefore, I think that you may not have the training in agriculture. What you may have is actually the actual practical experience in this sector. And so the cries and the problems of your people and the country at large will quickly be heard, because you have lived your life as an agriculture person growing up in areas where these three parts of agriculture that I've mentioned. And so at the ministry, what I was taking is now the part of the experience and the education from those that have gone to school. And I can assure you that those officers are still at the ministry. And if the government or any governments in the future would really want to save the country, tap in the knowledge of how these officers and what the knowledge that they possess to improve I go to this ministry, and the one thing to look at were, for example, the pricing of inputs for agriculture. So you and major and top on the list, and this is one of the biggest challenges in the agricultural sector, is the fertilizers, that are required for you to increase your yield. Okay, so the prices of a fertilizer, for example, as a major input in terms of a requirement for agriculture, needed to be addressed. And at a time when I go to the ministry, serving under Honorable Bob Schinga. First of all, I served under many ministries, but the longer one I think was under Honorable Bob Schinga at a time, who again gave me a lot of opportunity to explore myself into the ministry and get the experiences. We had to fight to reduce the cost of fertilizer. Deliberately, to manage the ministry, we were given different areas of concentration as deputy ministers. At the time, we were three: myself, late Honorable Rogers Mwewa, and Honorable Kazabu, and so who was in charge of livestock and fisheries. Then I was put on the side of the crops and so on. And the fertilizer was under my supervision. I fought to ensure that we reduce the price of fertilizer from $1,200 per metric ton to about $600. And even that, I still feel that we could still have reduced it further down. And this is one of the things that I keep saying, that when I heard and saw that the UPND were talking of reducing the cost of fertilizer, I believed in that campaign promise, which has never come to pass. So that, and then the other things that we learned from the ministry, and which I think that even the government, that has progressive governments, could have taken concentration and pay attention to, were, for example, the Maputo Declaration, okay, where African countries were advised, okay, or signed for as part of the agricultural protocols for Africa Union, of at least taking agricultural budgets, national budgets, to a minimum of 10% of the national budget. And that achieved, I can assure you, the nation and Honorable Ambassador Mwamba, that agricultural budgets at 10% will create a lot of food security, and we know what that will do. It will definitely be able to reduce the cost of living, the cost of mealie meal, cost of agricultural produce, and so on. In fact, that will in fact promote a lot of exports, not only just for Africa, but even to many other countries. It's a sad story that that declaration, which should have been achieved by 2025, which is where we are today, and that was done in 2003, to date, Zambia has not achieved the 10% budgetary allocation in the agricultural sector. It's a very sad picture. It's a very sad picture. I know that Zambia still imports.
Yeah, just to join in the conversation, probably the crisis of running a government, the competing priorities. You know, when you go to a health conference, they tell you that the health sector should receive minimum 18% of the national budget. When you go to education, I think it's 12%. The documents that we've signed with the UN, with the AU, social security also should have a minimum somewhere around 10-15%. Now look at our current budget. Up to 52% of our national budget goes to pay salaries for public service workers. There are about 300,000 or so public service workers, but they gobble up to 52% of your national budget or your national domestic revenue. This is before you factor in the cost of running government, the factor of running especially State House, awatemwa kwenda mwendo kamunjila. You know, what do the Nyanjas say? Kwendo panjila. I don't know what they say, the Nyanjas, but they say it very well. When you look at the factors of just running government, you add a 20%. Before you pay your debt service, your national budget is literally gone. So I can imagine how we lament about the 10% that we should support the agricultural sector, which is an economic sector. Maybe our thinking should be different. What should be the role of the private sector in that case, looking at the structure and realities of our national budget?
Very well, and well said. So here is where governments miss it. And for sure, if what we are struggling with right now in terms of those percentages, for example, when we talk about how much that just to meet our wage bills for this country, the 52%, we are talking of 52% of a very small figure, okay? A very small figure to manage the 300,000 plus or so civil servants that we are talking about. If government concentrated its efforts to meeting some of these numbers we're talking about, for example, in the agricultural sector, if we pushed in about 10% or 10% plus, you know, agriculture is not just about food security. It's also one of those areas of the economy that can improve our GDP. I know that there are many countries in the world, in Africa, that don't have the resources that as Zambia we boast of. And those countries, I can also assure you that them depending on just agriculture, they are able to meet their national budgets. So for me, I think it's really priorities that we need to start taking stock of. And if we are to look at our priorities, we should be able to meet our budget deficits. So in Zambia, we concentrate much on our copper. And we are ignoring, for example, even this same copper, I hope that we can get time again to talk about so I can put my position on how I really think. But to talk about agriculture, I think for me that if we increase in terms of financing the agricultural sector, the returns are going to be very high. Almost
I was actually doing a bit of arithmetic. You actually see that in Africa, for example, in Zambia, to date we are still importing rice, we are still importing fruits, we are still importing chickens, we are still importing, sometimes even eggs, we are still importing wheat, and so on. And Zambia being land linked, we should have taken advantage over this. Just the agricultural sector, well managed, can be able to become our mainstay in terms of contributing to our national GDP and be able to pay all our national budgets without having to borrow or to look anywhere else. Okay, Ethiopia is one of those countries where 40% of their GDP is coming from the agricultural sector. And because of the emphasis they've put, it's the concentration that they've put in these sectors that the returns are going to be seen. We go home jumping and get excited and want to export 500,000 metric tons of maize, for example, that the cabinet is talking about now, and how much they've sold in the past. All of this is coming from a paltry less than 5% of our national budget, okay? And even the same budget is still a very small budget for a big country like Zambia. So the day we are going to start looking at sectors that are going to benefit the economy and put our emphasis on such is a time that we are going to realize that actually Zambia is a big country. So with agriculture, not just for the, not only just for the for government support, private sector participation in the agricultural sector can create a very big number of people employed compared to what government is going to employ. So for me, really, the agricultural sector has not received its befitting junk in terms of prioritizing this sector. Along the agricultural sector, Zambia can become the hub. It can become the food barn for the entire Africa. You know that Congo will always be looking for maize, looking for cassava, they look for millet, they look for sorghum. Angola is looking for rice, they're looking for all of these things. And we've got plains. For example, in the Western Province, the Barotse Plains, okay, in Northern Province, okay, around Nakonde, they are all good land for paddy rice, you know. Sugar can still be grown in this country and be able to be managed. Just sugar exports are going. So all of those exports, we look at wheat, for example, there are times when this country has to import wheat from neighboring countries, from Tanzania, from South Africa. And when there's no wheat, then even the cost of bread, it goes up. And you know, bread sometimes is actually next to our staple food, which is maize, okay? So for me, I really feel that we can grow our economies just with the agricultural sector. And especially that we have failed to run our mines. I think that agriculture can become a very good replacement to this sector which we have failed to manage. So I think for me, really, in terms of a private participation, if government creates good policies around the agricultural sector, okay, so that the farmer is supposed to know that when they produce enough maize, the borders are going to be open for markets. When they produce enough cotton, the prices are not going to be fluctuating. When they have sunflower, they are going to sell it freely. You know, all of these things, this is what government is supposed to be concentrating its efforts on. And I'm looking forward to the next declaration for AU, whether they will still want to maintain the 10% for agriculture in terms of our national budgets. Yes, they are competing needs. Agriculture should be one of, really, food security is equal to national security. If a country is starving, they can't have power to fight the enemy. If the country is starving, the frame of mind, right frame of mind for people, workers, you can't work without food, okay? And the agriculture creates nutrients for our people in terms of various components.
Indeed, Honorable.
Agriculture for me, yeah.
Before I take you to the broader issues, I was particularly interested in the matter because you were at Ministry of Agriculture for quite some time. I also always wonder why we plan very, very low. Our targets are very, very low. You plan low, your achievements will be low. I also agree with you on the role of the public sector. The public sector, in fact, has driven the numbers. FISIP was a project that was quite small. It was meant to be, a poverty alleviation program. But then when President Mwanawasa reintroduced it, he realized that this could also provide food security other than providing food security for the poor. And the number was expanded by the PF from 500,000 to 1.1 million. And that's the first time we beat the threshold of 2 million metric tons. Now it has become natural to do 3 million metric tons. Why? Because of the involvement of those smallholder farmers that are supported by government. And another matter where the public sector can participate, the farming blocks, brilliant concept. And it's a pity that we really haven't invested in the farming blocks. We have a farm block in each province. Nansanga in Serenje, Luena in Luapula, Mansha in Muchinga, Mushindamo in Northwestern Province, Musokotwane in Southern Province, Luswishi on the Copper Belt, Shikabeta in Lusaka, Chikumbilo in Eastern Province, and Kalungwishi in Northern Province. All of these having in excess of 100,000 hectares of land. If we took power, we took roads, we graded the feeder roads, we provided water. These can be engines for our agriculture sector, but it remains a lip service. Let me take you to the state of our country. You are in opposition, and before first you answer that question, many already people are asking that you are literally found a member of the UPND. And I think you were forced to leave the UPND maybe 10, 15 years later, a party you had worked for many years. You were among the founder members. Why did you leave the UPND? I've seen some calls asking you that question. Then transition us to the state of the country now, and then we begin to pick up the conversation.
Very well. So, at the time when I joined the UPN, I was very young, and 1999 when I joined, that was about less than 3 years of my time after high school. And I believed so much in the vision of the later president and founding father of that party, late Honorable Mazoka Kambela Mazoka Koiwotu. And I think I interacted very well with him at that age, even if I was still a non-entity at the time. He helped to build me all the way through. On a few occasions that would meet and a few phone calls that he would do, try and make. I got very encouraged. I believed in his vision. I saw how that we're going to have a better country. Along the way, I think I began to that there were a lot of changes in the manner that was managed. And really, in the past is history, no intention whatsoever to think going back, thinking like many other members that started. Along the way, especially with the coming in of a new leader, it was very clear that lots of things shifted, goalposts, our beliefs, how things were being done and managed. So a lot of people could not stay in there. And there's a long list that I can want to run through the country. For example, you recall that Honorable Bob Stringer was one of those vice presidents that were with the UPN at the start, left. Honorable John Mulwila left. And many of us, including the late President Edgar Lungu, was also one of the members who contested the election actually in 2001, also left, and So former Vice President Inonge Wina was one of those members who belonged to the start of the UPND, left. Honorable, our acting president right now, Honorable Lubinda, was one of those members who was an MP in 2001 under the UPND, left. So you actually literally see that the members that left the UPND in after 2006, 2011, many of them, had they stuck around, UPND could have probably formed government way before 2021. And part of the long delay in them forming government was actually as a result of all of those shifts in the governance system and how the party was managed, how decisions were being done, and how people were looked upon. And so for me, I actually felt, speaking for myself, that I was being gagged, for example, to do certain things I felt I must be able to do. And really to avoid putting it online now is something in the past, because for example, if I want to take development and I'm told, no, if you're going to be negotiating for the road project and then it's delivered, it will be deemed as though it's a government. So would you hold on until when we come in power? The mandate I'm given by the people is actually 5 years, and therefore I cannot wait. My people want water. I'm not going to wait. I'll talk to the Minister of Local Government at a time who was in charge for water development. And so if they provide me services, then I hear stories, no, he's meeting ministers and then for me, I felt that's not now my role. And my role as an MP is to stand between the people that I'm representing and the government. So the needs of my people, I must be able to deliver to government, okay? The fact that we've lost an election as a political party must not take my people to wait until when it shall be done. Service delivery to the people sometimes is so dire that denying a health post to be built, or denying a road to be built, a bridge to be built, okay, a crossing point for the people to be built in crocodile-infested areas is actually life-saving, or it's a call for humanity. And especially for me, I truly deem the work of a politician as a sanctified work. It's a call to actually serve the people on behalf of the Creator, who is God. And so I will not wait for someone to tell me, no, wait until when. I think for me that was basically the one big point where we parted and differed with my then president. And so even when along the way when that was happening, then I got an appointment. I chose I was going to defend the people. And so that's what happened. And I'm very grateful about that opportunity, because through that I was able to take real and meaningful development to my people in Itestezi, which record is debatable right now, whether or not I was one of the best members of parliament. And I have received a lot of messages and calls and of gratitude that I served better the people of Itestezi. We delivered major projects in Itestezi, which probably no single MP would be able to talk about. Okay, I spearheaded and pushed the creation of the construction of the hydropower station in Itestezi. Okay, 120 megawatts of power was put in there. I put up a big modern market and a bus stop, state of the art. To date, anyone is boasting about that. In fact, national meetings happen at that infrastructure. We built the road going to Itezi, 100 kilometers of that road, 70 kilometers I was able to deliver before I left my seat. Okay, so for me, really, it was those things compared to, and I knew very well, Ambassador, that with me taking a position, okay, with me taking a position with government to represent my people was going to cost me an adoption the following year. And I knew that running an election in a stronghold like Itezi at a time was definitely not going to be, it was going against the tide. And for me, I told myself 5 years will be enough for me to do what I can, and I'm very happy. I move and I walk head high in Itezi without any bodyguards, freely so, and I'm invited to ceremonies by traditional leaders there. I go to churches there and I mingle with the people, compared to some of the past MPs that would not even freely visit the area. So I feel that my 5 years was actually a good time for me to serve the people. And I'm here. I'm so happy that I learned even much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mwamba.
With the government.
We transition to the state of the country from your perspective. We're suffering the worst load shedding in many years. I think this is one of the worst. And even for people that have invested in alternative power, it doesn't make sense, because the load shedding is just extremely extensive, 18 hours, 20 hours a day. And I think it has become difficult for our people. The cost of living, again, is being deemed as the worst cost of living crisis we've ever had in living memory. Things have been tough in the past, but not to this extent. Yet, government sings songs of praises to themselves that they are doing well, that the state of the country is okay. They say they're providing free education. They say they are providing CDF, and they say they've restored so-called peace as if we were at war. How do you compare the two? The reality of the state of the economy and their celebration of glory that they've restructured debt, they've done this, and people should re-elect them to power.
Very well. You see, I don't know how that power sometimes blinds people. And if we are to compare, for me, I feel that truly numbers will never lie, and you can easily see it, that there's nothing much happening in this country. We've gotten to a point where in this country, Zambia has reached its worst in every sector. And you can even see how that our people are struggling, how that our people feel about this government, especially after all the lies that were given to the Zambian people. The expectation of the people in this country is been very, very betrayed. Actually, there's a betrayal that people that can entrust you with power, overwhelming voting for you, and you just turn to them with such a level of mediocre delivery to the services that you promised you were going to deliver. And really like you have guided, and that I always love myself to see if we can get to talk about our solutions. But we will talk about solutions when we have known where the problem is. So take, for example, the energy sector. The energy sector is one of actually the serious sectors that improves the GDP of any country. So in this country, today we've gotten to a point where even that 18 hours of load shedding we are talking about is just on paper. Home where I come from myself, at my house, we've not had power for the last maybe 7 days. 7 days, somewhere thereabout. And I thought that I was the only one that was faced with this problem. I'm very disappointed that not even a statement would have been given to us. What is happening is that 8 out of the 24 hours, maybe 1 hour, you and with that, for me, I think comes a position where you get Zambians to start wonder that if there was a way to evaluate this government and say, or to kick them out, if there should be a way in which government must be evaluated, this government could have been kicked out right in year 2 maybe. Because year 1, everyone would have been hoping, let's give them an opportunity to maybe settle and stabilize themselves. But where we are now, remaining with just about 7-8 months before Parliament is dissolved, this government has completely not delivered to its promises. You can't even rate it the 80% they're talking about. In fact, it's a mockery to tell the Zambian people that this government has delivered 80%. It's a mockery. Okay? The same people that have been saying 80% who at the end of the day turn and say, however, the cost of living is the only aspect that we have to deal with. Now, if the cost of living is one of the major challenges that this government is faced with, cost of living is a combination of all other sectors. If the agricultural sector is doing well, then the cost of living in terms of, for example, price of mealie meal, price of cooking oil which comes from sunflower, price of relish and so on will go down. And in Zambia, you know that when we talk about cost of living, mainly we talk about our staple food. So this is the government that found mealie meal at 130, and they took it to 450, almost to 500. Okay? So you get to wonder what they mean when they talk like this. And you know, the people that are talking like this actually are detached from the citizens, the suffering masses. I in fact heard my church leaders the other day try to lie to the president that this government has delivered more than any. They've reached 100% of their deliverables and so on. Clearly, you can even see that people are lying to the president, but the people of Zambia know. They know that they were promised no load shedding in this country. We heard how the president boasted about no load shedding in this country, and now we all have seen what's happening. And yet,
Patrick, I think we took a break. Is Patrick that was done? We took a break. Yes, 10 years to go to break. Is it one that has done that? Yes. Okay. And you. Okay, thank you very much. And that was a brief break. We are hosting Honorable Grayford Monde. We'll be opening phone lines very soon for you to participate. Share the broadcast, share with your colleagues. We are broadcasting from Facebook, my page, and other partner pages that are participating in this broadcast. And we are on YouTube, on X, and on TikTok. I'll be inviting Honorable Grayford Monde to wrap up his thoughts around the state of the economy, and then we go to the role of the opposition, and I'll invite you to participate in this broadcast. Honorable Monde, you were telling us your thoughts about the state of the country and the state of the nation.
Very well. So, to evaluate the successes achieved or the failures of this government, we may have to go through sectors. And this can take us the whole day, but we can quickly look at the major ones of those sectors and whether or not numbers there are on the side of this government. So, we are from talking about the agricultural sector again. Even that sector, if we are to evaluate it, you actually see that under this sector, the government, for example, this year's budget, they put in about 7% of the national budget into it. That already is a failure in terms of successes. When you look at the agricultural sector itself, you actually see that we are way far below in terms of our preparedness, for example. Even if we are going to have a harvest, because countries are supposed to be targeting, Zambia is supposed to be targeting at harvest somewhere about 10 million metric tons of maize for real exports, not the small numbers. You go to the tourism sector. Tourism sector comes with a lot of infrastructure development that is required to put in place. How this government, for example, has treated this sector, the tourism sector is completely dead in this country. There's nothing you can talk about today about